Tonight, putting a line between the vaccinated and unvaccinated.
We don't really have guidance right now on what businesses should do.
A new website lists which businesses in Ontario are requiring staff to be vaccinated, but not everyone is on board with the idea. Plus,
we had about 50% of the shows sold out on Friday altogether.
movie theaters butter up their audiences after being shuttered for months. How they did on their big opening weekend. And
an altercation took place in one of the units of the motel, leading to the stabbing.
Hamilton police are on the scene of the city's 10th homicide of the year. A man was killed in what's being described as a targeted attack at a motel.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Merville is away. With the province now reopened, businesses have a decision to make. Allow unvaccinated staff and customers inside or keep the doors closed to them. Many places have begun introducing vaccination policies, and these businesses are now being compiled online in a new website called Safe to Do. The CBC's Halago Name has the details.
If strangers want to dance together again at Toronto Dance Salsa, they'll have to be fully vaccinated with proof.
They just want things to go back to normal, and so do I. So for that school, for my school to survive that, this is how we have to do it until the government says everybody can touch.
Director Alex Sayan says the new policy hasn't impacted business. Many classes are already sold out.
I've spoken to everybody, and everybody understands that right now is kind of our buffer time as things open up, and this is necessary just from the sense of our school making it through this massive mess.
The dance studio is among nearly 20 businesses listed on the site Safe to Do. Toronto lawyer Brandon Matelow took it upon himself to launch the website last week.
I just made this resource to help businesses and to help people make their own decisions because we don't really have guidance right now on what businesses should do, and people have their own risk tolerances.
For some businesses, including Chanticleer Restaurant, considering vaccination standards has received backlash. It's thinking about asking customers who wish to sit by the bar to show proof of vaccination.
A few positive comments, but mostly really aggressive, negative comments. Some anti-Semitic comments and posting. A bunch of fake Google reviews and people making fake reservations. The government's inaction has caused us to have to enact policy ourselves. So they've passed the political football on from government, with whom the responsibility should lie, to the individual and to the business owners, which is incredibly unfair. And that's placed us in a situation where we have to now bear the burden.
And that raises some ethical concerns.
There's an element of surveillance to this. And if businesses are going to ask for proof that people are vaccinated, they better be very, very clear. If there's any element of health information, they're going to have to be very, very careful as to how it's used and stored from a legal point of view.
He says enforcement may also be a challenge for some businesses, especially without specific federal or provincial directives. Halago Name, CBC News, Toronto.
Ontario's COVID-19 numbers remain low across the province. 177 new cases were reported today. Grey Bruce County and the region of Waterloo each have the most cases, with 33 and 32. The province added 6 deaths. More than 14,000 tests were completed, putting the test positivity rate at 1%. And today is the 10th straight day where cases in the province are below 200. And for the first time in months, those looking for something to do on the weekend could hit up a movie theater. Indoor cinemas have reopened as part of Step 3, and many couldn't wait to get a seat with popcorn in hand. As Dale Mnukduk reports, it's another experience making people feel like life is finally getting back to normal.
Let's all go to the movies, or just 50% for now.
I just finished working today, and I'm super excited. It's my first time in like 9 months.
You think I can ask you some questions about your movie-going experience?
Moviegoers leaving the Scotiabank Theatre on Richmond Street were thrilled just to be back inside.
What did you guys watch?
What's it called?
The Hitman's
bodyguard's wife or something like that.
The big screen.
The big screen, some normalcy,
Yeah.
popcorn, you know, like
The popcorn definitely.
the popcorn definitely tastes a lot better in a movie theater than at home.
It was laid back. It wasn't full, and you have your own section to sit in, so it was pretty safe as well.
Even though we're allowed 50% capacity, we believe that, typically the theaters would run at 35 to 40% capacity.
Ontario Cineplex theaters closed last October. They've planned for months on how to open safely, learning from the rollouts in other provinces, implementing a new reservation system for moviegoers.
The 4 seats ahead of them, 4 seats behind them, and 2 seats anywhere on their left and right will automatically be blocked off, making sure that they are in a safe bubble and nobody will be close to them within 2-meter range.
There's plenty of safety precautions in place for customers, but what about staff?
I would hope that the employers at Cineplex are going to take the proper precautions.
Cineplex says they will cover wages for staff who have any COVID-19 symptoms and need to stay home. Union members are happy to be back at work.
The industry coming back, having movie theaters opening up, having people starting to congregate in a larger setting is only going to be beneficial.
Many of Toronto's independent theaters, including the Fox, remain closed, but plan to open in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, for those who still aren't comfortable being indoors, drive-ins still offer that community experience. The Art Walk space in Vaughan is screening classic films throughout the summer.
It's been a year and a half, more or less, right? Since we've really had this experience where you don't feel so confined. So it's a nice experience, right? To be with others too, and not just alone.
Shows are running Thursdays and Saturdays and are free to attend. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
A firefighter battling a wildfire in northern Ontario has died after suffering a medical emergency near Fort Frances. The name of the firefighter has not been released. There are currently about 100 fires burning in northwestern Ontario, and 3 communities have been or are being evacuated. Firefighting help has come in from Mexico, the U.S., and 5 other provinces. Safia Kambalia joins us now, and very tragic to hear about what happened to that firefighter near Fort Frances. Now, Safia, how dangerous are these wildfires?
Well, let's start off by giving you an idea of the scale and magnitude of these fires, some of the largest of which are burning out of control at over 120,000 hectares right now. Heat warnings and fire danger rating remain high in much of the northwest, with temperatures that are feeling into the mid-30s. No significant rain in the forecast over the next week. The forecast is certainly not helping this situation. Air quality remains really difficult and poor as well in the area, with air quality statements still in effect because of the smoke and haze, which will actually travel southwards on prevailing winds for Monday, as it did a little bit today as well. So here in the south, you will see, smell, and maybe even breathe some of the smoke from these fires in northwestern Ontario. Anybody that's susceptible to breathing-related illness will find it a bit of a difficult day for breathing tomorrow. It will be hot, humid, and muggy. There will be chances for sunshine in between all of the haze. It will feel into the mid-30s, and the chance for an occasional summertime thunderstorm or shower as well. The break from the humidity will come midweek. I'll tell you about that more in the long range. Kelda.
Thanks so much, Safia. In Barrie, emergency crews are making progress in cleaning up after last week's tornado that left a 5-kilometer-long path of destruction. The city says crews will have all sidewalks, boulevards, and parks affected by the tornado cleaned up by the end of the day, and say Barrie Police will reopen the area by noon tomorrow. The EF2 tornado hit Thursday afternoon, bringing winds of up to 210 kilometers an hour. Police are investigating after a man died in a stabbing at a Hamilton motel this morning.
So the altercation took place inside one of the units at the motel. The victim left on foot and walked eastbound on Queenston Road a short distance before collapsing on the sidewalk. And a neighbor in the area observed him in distress and called 911.
The victim was transported to hospital where he died. Police have not released his name, but say he was a 40-year-old man from Brampton who was visiting someone in the motel. They say it was a targeted attack and are asking any witnesses to come forward. Charges have been laid after a Cambridge mosque was vandalized last week. A 35-year-old man from Cambridge was arrested and charged with breaking and entering, property damage over $5,000, and possession of stolen property. Police say they don't believe Wednesday's attack was hate-motivated. Damage to the Batul Karim Mosque is estimated at more than tens of thousands of dollars. Toronto City Councillor Mike Layton celebrated his late father, former federal NDP leader Jack Layton's birthday today by announcing an event honoring his life and legacy to be held next month.
Don't have to despair and think that change isn't possible.
The Love, Hope and Optimism event will take place on the 10th anniversary of Layton's death on August 22nd. It will feature musical performances and have special guests including David Suzuki and Stephen Page. The event will honor Layton's longtime activism. The Toronto Blue Jays are welcoming back fans as they continue their season back home at the Rogers Centre. Now, it won't look exactly like this, but 15,000 fans will be allowed to cheer on the Jays in person starting on July 30th. Among the first fans in the building will be 250 frontline workers. Those in attendance will be required to wear masks, and physical distancing measures will be in place. Ticket sales begin on July 22nd. COVID-19 fears are rising in Japan as athletes and staff pour into Tokyo for the Olympic Games. As Adrian Arsenault reports, with just 5 days to go until the opening ceremony, more positive test results are being added to the tally.
Arrivals into Japan are building. And yes, those are Canadians cooling their heels after their long flights, encountering lineups and delays at the airport that are reaching their peak. And along with the surge of people is suspicion that those incoming athletes and officials and media are carting the virus with them as they show up. The front pages of Japan's dailies like Asahi Shimbun writing of what they call the risky bubble. Japanese television following accredited Olympic workers suggesting rules are being broken. Worried Japanese officials calling for even tighter restrictions. And still saying no to the idea of at least some fans in the stands in Tokyo. The people here who sacrificed so much will now be almost entirely cut out of the Olympic experience, and it's crushing for them. But the IOC carries on.
Finally, I think after 15 months, the first time we meet in person again. And this is a very special pleasure.
Its executives and global VIPs will be the ones in the stands at the opening ceremony. And Olympic bosses opted to hold their first in-person executive board meeting in 16 months here in Tokyo.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, maybe we should do this one on Zoom out of respect for what they cannot do?
This executive board meeting is not only justified, it is necessary.
The IOC executive didn't alter weekend plans either, going ahead with attending a celebratory dinner with the Tokyo Organizing Committee at an imperial palace. Protesters outside making it clear they're growing tired of an Olympics starting to feel like a private party.
Now the IOC is making some changes, worried that without fans in the stands, neither the athletes nor the people at home will have a particularly good experience, so microphones will be amping up the sound of the competition, and audio from past Olympics will be piped into the stadiums so that the athletes can feel energized. As for the people of Tokyo, it seems that for them to have the best Olympic experience, they're going to need to watch it on television. Adrian Arsenault, CBC News, Tokyo.
When the Olympics begin, Slovenian Tadej Pogačar will be the clear favorite for gold in cycling after winning this year's grueling Tour de France for the second straight year. The 22-year-old became the Tour's youngest champion ever last year and now becomes the youngest double champion. Pogačar dominated much of this year's race. Quebec's Hugo Hull was the top Canadian finisher in 66. Ottawa's Mike Woods was the Canadian favorite but pulled out of the race early to prepare for Tokyo.
My passion, food is my world. Pizza is my world.
The community that gave and the pizza maker that gave back. That story coming up.
We thought, what better thing to do than to actually reimagine what this could be used for and look at it as a canvas.
Well, how's this for a date night? An old department store building in Vaughan has been turned into a giant series of murals. The 30,000 square foot space features 4 works of art on each side of the building. The space is also being used for outdoor movie fests. Food trucks are also in the area to fulfill all your cravings. The art is expected to be up for at least 3 more years. The pandemic has brought many challenges and changes for restaurant owners. For Giorgio Taverniti, who runs Frank's Pizza and Corso Italia, COVID-19 gave him a new perspective. Giorgio is legally blind, but he never felt comfortable sharing that publicly. Recently, he felt inspired to be more open with his customers about his health. When they wanted to give him donations to help him out, he actually decided to give them right back to the community instead.
I'm Giorgio Taverniti, owner and operator of Frank's Pizza.
What was the last year like for you and your business?
Yeah, it's tough time. Didn't know what to do at the beginning. Everything was up in the air. We were probably one of the first restaurants to close down completely 3 days before the city made us close down. And we weren't sure what was going to happen next. People were coming in wanting to have dinner and we're like, sorry, just take out for now. And some people weren't too happy at the beginning. And we extended our hours and kept on going, and I think that what made us survive this pandemic is we didn't close at all. We didn't shorten our hours. We kept on going full force, 7 days a week. We extended our 1 day a week, and we survived.
What was it that made you want to go public and share your personal story?
At that point, I just thought it was time to tell my story about my advanced glaucoma and how I was losing my vision. I never wanted to share the story before because I was embarrassed. It was just, you know, at that point, just everything going on with the pandemic and people losing their jobs, people having no money, you know, my situation, I was like, you know what, I'm still working, I'm still feeding my family, let me share my story with everybody. You know, maybe I can help somebody out, get a better mood, get a better feel. I came out and I'm glad I did. The lighting affects me, so I can't see out of my right eye completely, and on my left eye, I just see central, no peripheral vision, no up and down. So within the restaurant, as long as I know where everything is, I'm good. But if things get moved around, I have a difficult time. And when we were serving people, walking to the table, I would always have to make sure I'm not bumping into somebody, bringing some food over to the table. You know, I've spilled a few drinks, dropped a few plates on people. And I've had people ask me, you know, have you been drinking? You know, everything okay? And I just didn't want to say, you know, I just can't see. But now, you know, everybody knows, so I have nothing to hide.
So I understand you started an initiative to give back. Can you tell me a bit about that?
People were coming to us and they felt bad for me for some reason and they wanted to donate money. And I'm like, no, we can't take your money. And we came to a conclusion with the customer, let's start a slice fund, where if you were short some money and couldn't afford a meal, and a lot of people were in that situation at the beginning of the pandemic because a lot of people lost their jobs, unfortunately. And we have this fund put aside. You need some food, a pizza slice, you come, you know, and you pay what you can. You know, some people give $1, some people have no money, and we'll take care of it.
In what ways have you learned and grown over the last year?
Yeah, I've gained and learned some confidence with myself and with my condition. Like, you know, it's not that bad, you know. I don't want people to feel sorry for me, you know. And I've learned that people are open, people are understanding. I thought people would say, you know, look at this guy, you know, he should be at home resting or doing something else. But people are supporting me. People are saying, good for you for continuing on, you know, not giving up, you know, even though there's nothing to give up, you know, just a little hurdle I got to get through, and, you know, slowly, you know, work through it. You have to keep on going. Life is short. You know, I have to provide for my family as well. I have 6 kids. And I love it. It's my passion. I've been doing this all my life. This is all I know what to do. You know, I'm here in the morning. I don't leave until, you know, midnight. I'm not a 9-to-5 guy behind a desk. You know, this is my passion. Food is my world. Pizza is my world.
Giorgio's story is one of the few stories featured in a digital series called Serving Up Change, led by CBC Toronto's communications team in community partnership with the City of Toronto and Cafe TO. The series features stories from business owners in 5 neighborhoods across the city. You can read more by visiting cbc.ca/servingupchange. All right, let's go back to Sophia now with another look at your forecast. And Sophia, humidity sticking around for a few more days?
Yeah, and even into the overnight period, it'll feel pretty muggy, feeling 20 for sleeping conditions tonight, which is closer to what our normal daytime high should be this time of year. A little bit of fog will roll through for the early morning hours, especially if you're around the lakeshore. And then, yeah, we are hot, humid, and muggy. You nailed it for the afternoon, feeling into the mid-30s. It will also be a little bit hazy. We talked about the fires a little earlier in the show, that smoke coming down from prevailing winds from those fires in northwestern Ontario. So you will see and breathe and experience the haze throughout much of the afternoon and evening hours throughout much of southern Ontario for tomorrow. And in between some of that haze, there will be lots of sunny breaks, especially for the early half of Monday, which, by the way, is the 200th day of 2021. Now you know, some water cooler conversation around the kitchen table there. The chance for some occasional storms and showers will roll through into the afternoon tomorrow, especially on the northern edge of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario as those lake breezes interact with some of the heat of the day. You'll have the heavy rain, the small hail, and the strong winds if you do have a storm that comes through your neck of the woods. And then the cold front passes, but we're still really in this warm air mass for Tuesday, still feeling into the mid-30s and still with the slight risk of a non-severe storm. And then Wednesday, have a look at the feels like difference. Breathe that sigh of relief. Finally, the feels like down by about 10. The temperature even down a few degrees below seasonal, not only for Wednesday, but for much of the second half of the work week. You'll still see the occasional shower, but not nearly as active as what we saw last week. And in fact, we won't really have any periods of sustained heat until the end of the month. So for Monday, enjoy some of the sunshine if you can in between the haze, and enjoy what will be the 200th day of 2021. Kelda, isn't that neat?
Yeah, thanks for that fact. I'll keep that in mind. 200 days, didn't know that. Thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome.
And that is our show for you tonight. But as we go, a look at Hamilton's newest resident. Theodore Tugboat docked at Hamilton Harbor today. The boat's month-long journey from Nova Scotia waters ending tonight with its new home. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night, everyone.